Today we're going to be discussing the 4 key areas that make up my book, A Conversation with Your Big Sister, The Slow No Strategy. So stay tuned. One of the things that I want you to remember before we even start to dive into the slow no strategy is knowing what a strategy really is. A strategy is a systematic plan that helps you achieve a goal. And that's where the sustainability of anything occurs when you have a systematic plan. Conversation with your big sister actually started off as a conversation with my sister girls. And because of that, they would always say to me, how are you able to say no so easily? In order to write the book, I was just like, oh my gracious, what do I do? And I started thinking about the process that I go through before I give an answer, a response to a request that someone asks of me. So these are the 4 steps that I go through that make up the slow no strategy. You can find more information about these strategies in my book, and you can click on the link down below in order to purchase it if you're interested. So let's go ahead and get into the 4 steps that make up the slow no strategy. Step number 1, do not multitask when someone comes to speak to you. It's easy for us to be on our phone, to be writing if we're at work. If a child comes to us, we could be cooking, we could be watching television. When they come to ask you a question, just stop what you're doing so that you can hear what they have to say. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is to listen with your ears and not with your face. And sometimes what happens is when you're listening with your face, have you ever heard anyone say to you, why do you look like that when I said that? That's because you're listening with your face. Your face said what you were thinking instead of you just verbalizing it. But if you're truly listening to someone, stay in the moment, listen to what they have to say so that you can ask clarifying questions if you have to or if you need to, and so that when you go to step number 3, you are really making a knowledgeable decision about whether you're going to say yes or no. Step number 3 is to observe how you feel or what you're thinking at the time. In the book, I mentioned that, you know what, our gut feelings have been with us all our lives. We just have chosen when we wanted to listen and when we didn't. Most of the time when you're distracted and going in a different direction, you're not listening. And what happens is all of a sudden things just go amok. We can't handle the consequence from whatever we have decided, or believe it or not, that's when you also start feeling guilty about the response that you gave. So what this does is step number 3 requires that you observe how you are feeling at the time that that person has asked the question, you clarify, and you go with what your gut says. If your gut automatically says yes, you can do this. You can handle the request, you have the time or whatever it is, then you say yes. If your gut is telling you, girl, stop, you know you cannot afford that, or girl, you do not have the time for that, then guess what? The answer is no. And that person will be okay with your response. Remember, everything that you are doing is to make sure that you come out with the win. In order for you to come out with the win, you need to do those steps in order. You need to make sure that you're stopping, you need to make sure that you're listening, and you need to make sure that you observe how you are feeling so that you can respond with a confident, no obligation yes, or with a guilt-free no. Now, what happens if you don't really know and you need that time to think? That's where step number 4 comes to play. Step number 4 comes into play when you have that yes-no on your plate and you need time to respond. You want to make sure that you are intentional on how you respond and when you respond. So that means this is actually, doing step number 4 works great, especially if you are a parent and your child comes to you and you really need to think about what they're asking you. If you ask for 5 minutes, an hour, it doesn't matter if it's your child or someone else. If you need time to think, utilize the time to think. Once that time has expired, make sure that you come back to the person with your response. Believe it or not, if you honor what you say and what you do, they will honor your response. If it's a yes, then trust me, you will be okay with whatever happens with that yes, meaning that, hey, if they are not able to reciprocate at another time the same thing, you're okay with that because you gave a yes because it benefits you. Now, if it ends up being no, then you can handle the fact of it being a no, and that they, you know what, they may be a little bit upset or they may be pissed off, but they will be okay. The bottom line is you want to come out with the win. And that's it. Those are the 4 key areas that make up the slow no strategy. In the comments box below, please let me know which one of these strategies that has been mentioned that you may need to work on. I know for me, I constantly have to continue to work on step number 2, depending on who the person is and the relationship that I have with them. Sometimes I do listen with my face a little bit more than others. All right, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you are not a subscriber, please make sure that you subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you can be notified of new content that I put out each week, and share it with a friend, someone that may need this information as well. And don't forget that sustainable habits inspire mindful transformation to help you get your shift right. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.